Good morning, it's Lisa with Lisa Heal Yourself, and today I want to talk about stress as the root cause of all illness. It is the root cause of fibromyalgia, of pain, chronic fatigue syndrome. It's the root cause, most likely, of almost all diseases. So between stress and toxicity, which I talk about in a lot of my other videos, and I will do a video on that soon again, those are the two, I believe, main causes of all illness. You know, from the scope of MS right down to Parkinson's, cancer, neurological diseases, mental illnesses, you name it, okay? So if you're struggling with symptoms, and I know you go over and over in your head, what is causing this? What is the problem? It's one of two things. It's toxicity and stress, okay? And this video today is going to be about stress, because you got to think of yourself as having a bucket, right? And I know you've heard this analogy over and over and over. Your bucket's full and it spills over. This is your stress bucket, right? When it spills over, anything can happen. Your whole metabolic system can shut down. Your hypothalamus goes crazy. When these things happen, you're ripe. You are ripe for any kind of a condition, particularly pain, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, anything that you can't quite put your finger on or diagnose properly. This is what's happening. It is from stress. And I know you think, but my life isn't that stressful, or I'm spending all day in bed, or I'm trying to calm myself and I don't even have any friends. I'm not even working right now. How can I have stress? Because before I was doing all kinds of things and I had, so much stress and I was healthy. So I want you to think about this. Now, if you're holding a balloon or a ball, okay, a ball filled with air, underwater in a pool, you're holding it down, okay? And it takes a lot of work to continue to hold this ball down. Even if you're standing there doing nothing, you're holding the ball down. It's just resistance against your body. It's hard. You're moving around, you're walking around, you're trying to have on a conversation, and all the meanwhile, you've got to hold this ball underwater. Now, if I asked you to start playing a game or doing some fun stuff, you're not going to be able to do it because you're too busy trying to hold this ball down. So you can't move around properly. You can't use both hands to play and shoot things back with, right? Or if I asked you to go get up and do a job, right? Go to work, do your dishes, do like something at high capacity. It becomes harder and harder to function and do things because you're holding this ball underwater. So what is this ball, right? What is this ball? And this is, I'm not joking when I give you this analogy. This is the stress of your body being at war with itself, of your emotions, of you pushing down emotions. So we're pushing down the ball, pushing down aspects of yourself and feelings, emotions. You were pushing down these aspects that want to be felt, but for some reason, you don't think you can feel them. You've got to hold it together for perceptions. Not now because, you have kids and you have to be a good parent. So it's basically what's happening is your needs and everything that you just need to express the full extent of who you are, all your feelings, all your emotions, whatever, is being held underwater like a ball. And so it becomes hard to do anything else. It becomes hard to work. It becomes hard to enjoy yourself. It becomes hard to just sit on the couch and watch TV. It becomes hard to interact with your family. It becomes hard to do everything because we're holding parts of ourselves underwater, which is this ball. We're holding a majority of ourselves underwater, parts that we don't want to pop up, parts that we don't feel can be seen, parts that we feel will be perceived negatively, will be judged, criticized, abandoned, not accepted. So we hold these parts underwater. So this is the stress. The stress isn't that you have to go to work. The stress isn't that you're too busy and your to-do list isn't too long. That's only part of stress. The real stress that you're holding down under every day is that as you go to work, as you're doing your to-do list, as you're interacting with your family, your friends, your whatever you need to do, which is not the real stress that's causing you stress. It's as you're doing these things, you're holding parts of yourself inside, right? You're people pleasing. You're pushing the anger down. You're pushing the sadness down. You're pushing the frustration down, the irritation down, the loneliness down. You're pushing down whatever you feel that you're pushing down parts of yourself, parts of your identity, parts of your expression, and it takes work to hold this down. So this is the stress. And it doesn't seem like that would be a lot of stress, right? Because, well, I'm just sitting around, or I'm just lying in bed, or I'm just watching TV, or but holding down who you are, parts of yourself, your inner being, and when these two parts of yourself are at war, but I want to be nice, but I feel angry, right? When we're at war with ourselves and we're pushing and repressing aspects of ourselves down, we're conflicted, we're at war with ourselves, we're pushing emotions down, we're pushing subconscious traits down, feelings, right? We don't feel safe, we don't feel loved, we don't feel secure, we don't feel accepted, right? It's all these different things. And so when you're pushing these things down, you feel heavy, you're weighted, you're not free, right? You're not free to jump around that pool and play beach volleyball. You're not free to start doing water aerobics. You're not free to, join in the discussion and just be carefree and have fun. You're not free to do anything because you're too busy holding this ball down. So let's talk about stress for a minute, the kind of stress that you live with every day and how that affects you metabolically so that you are creating illness in your body. You're not creating it, but it is being created in your body. Okay, so when we're talking about stress, we're literally not talking about how much you have to do, okay? Because I'm sure you all had those days where you're literally doing nothing and you're in so much pain. And you've also had days where you're doing all kinds of things, your to-do list is full, but yet you feel okay. So the stress I'm talking about is really like the stress that you get when you're being inauthentic with who you are inside. So your trueness, your true expression of your true identity is not what you're portraying to people. So you're wearing a mask to people. You're trying to be, you're being asked to do things that you don't want to do. So you're engaged in a job that you don't want to work at. You're engaged in a ton of tasks that you actually don't want to do. You're visiting somebody or you're going out with friends who you don't want to be with. You are having an argument with your spouse that you don't want to be having. You are trying to get your kids to listen who are not listening to you. So it's the incongruency with what and who you truly are. So just when you think you're being completely authentic, right? You're doing what you want to do. You're saying what you want to do. You're saying what you want to say. You're feeling how you feel. You're expressing the true uniqueness of what's truly in your heart and your soul and your mind. And a lot of times we're not able to express, right? If we feel angry, we're not able to express anger. And I'm not saying everyone should go around expressing every emotion they have. That would not be good for any of your relationships or the world, probably, to go around crying when you feel like you need to cry, screaming when you need to scream. That's not what I'm saying, but I'm saying to recognize that you feel like you want to be crying and to acknowledge that. So say you're just carrying on about your day and you're doing all kinds of stuff for your children and they're frustrating you and they're not listening and you're feeling taken advantage of and you're feeling resentful and you're feeling angry. It's because you actually don't want to be doing, you don't want to be being responsible, and you have to, yet you have to act responsible. You don't want to be putting on a brave face, and yet you are putting on a brave face. So it's recognizing that that's not how you authentically feel inside. And then maybe you can journal about it, maybe you can meditate about it, maybe you can just think about it and allow yourself to take a breather where you feel how you actually feel and you recognize how you actually feel, right? So we want to start living authentically with who we truly are. And when we don't, that's the kind of stress that you can't see, you can't feel, you can't taste, you literally cannot understand how stress is causing your illness. Well, this is how. When you're not being authentic to who you are inside, whether with your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, right? Anything, your actions. When we feel incongruent to how we're completely acting, that causes stress in our body. And it's this stress that just feels like holding a ball underwater all day long. And that's the kind of stress that builds up and over time leaves you feeling completely alone, resentful, angry, isolated, rejected, abandoned. It makes you feel like you can't really be you. You can't really feel what you feel. You can't really do what you want to do. You can't really say what you want to say. And that is a lot of stress that a person carries. And somebody with chronic illness usually carries so much extra stress than the regular person because they're trying to be perfect when they're not. They want to get it right so they're not abandoned, right? They feel like they have to put on a brave face for the world and buck up and carry on with life even though they're sick, they're in pain, they're suffering, right? But yet we've always been told that positivity is what you need to do. So if you're putting on a brave face for everybody else and trying to repeat and say positive mantras and be positive, that's an admirable thing to do, but it's not an authentic thing to do, right? And when we're not being authentic, we're literally piling stress on our body. So even though we may be repeating positive affirmations all day long, like I'm worthy, I'm loved, I'm this, I'm that, and although it's good to replace negative thoughts with positive thoughts, if you don't acknowledge that, hey, I have all these negative thoughts and feelings inside me, and I'm turning a blind eye to them, I'm pushing them down, I'm turning away from them, I'm not allowing myself to express my concern to others, to express my pain to others, to show them my vulnerability, my heart inside, my true feelings, my fears, my apprehensions, my sadness, my pain, my grief. I have to put on this brave face. I have to act a certain way, and they're not going to like me. They're not going to understand me. They're not going to think of me in this great light that I want them to think of me if I really show them this ugliness inside me, this pain inside me, this suffering, this hurt, right? This anger, this fear. If I allow other people to see these vulnerable emotions that are truly what I'm feeling and truly authentically me right now, they won't like me. They will leave me. They will abandon me. They will think badly of me. I won't live up to my own standards of who I believe I am truly inside. And that literally is the kind of tension and just it takes so much tension to live that way. To hold down this ball underneath the water of the pool and not let it pop up to the surface and just take a breath and be like, you know what? I'm sad. I'm in pain. I'm suffering. This is me. I'm afraid. I want to be positive. I want to think positively. I want to be everything to everyone. I want to be a great mom. I want to be a great wife. I want to be positive. I want to, be a multitasker. I want to have people think of me as vibrant and welcoming and positive. But here's how I really feel, and it's incongruent to what I'm showing you. And when we do that, I'm just afraid. I want to be positive, but I'm afraid. I want to think the best, but I actually think the worst. And when we're honest, when we're just ourselves and we're honest and we just let that ball just pop, just let it go and let it float to the top of the pool, it makes this great big pop up. And then when it gets to the surface, it just kind of lounges there, just kind of floats. It's no big deal, and eventually it just kind of floats over to the side of the pool. And it wasn't this big dramatic thing that we thought it was going to be if we let people see the real us. So this is the stress, right? It's when we love that person, but we can't stand to be around them. We love our children so much, but they drive us absolutely crazy. We love our mom and our dad, but they make us feel terrible and we hate being around them, right? It's these kind of incongruencies when we partly feel this way and we partly feel that way about something. And we only show that everything's great, everything's great. And we're hiding this authentic feeling that we have, this emotion, this way of being, this thing that we want to do, this way that we want to be, and we can't. And it's usually that causes the most stress and tension and suffering, and it builds up and you get this illness. So this is the kind of stress I'm talking about. I'm not talking about having too much on your plate to do. Because although if you have too much on your plate to do and you love everything that you're doing, you'll just recognize that you're just doing too much and you're tired. But if you truly love everything that you're doing on your plate, you'll likely be able to just sail through it. It won't feel like effort and work, and it won't feel like this big thing, right? I want to be independent, but I'm afraid I need help, right? I want to be positive, but I feel negative. I want to be brave, but I'm scared. So we have these incongruencies, we don't know what to do with them, we bury them down, and we just think positively, and that's all well and good. That is a good way to be. It's better to focus on the positive than the negative, but when we're not acknowledging truth, just truth of what is, truth of how we do feel, truth of, something that we need to sit with, feel, explore, talk about, then that makes us feel totally stressed inside our own being. So the two biggest the two biggest factors to illness, I believe, are chronic stress and chronic toxicity. So we'll talk about the toxicity in the next video, but I really want to hit this point home that I know there's a lot of people, everyone is living under stress, everyone has responsibilities, everyone has stress that's hard in their life. But it's not that kind of stress that I'm talking about. It is to a degree, but it's not what's making you sick. Unless you really are just burning the candle at both ends and you need to see that you're tired and you need a break. And that's fine too, to be able to take a break. I'm not Superwoman. I want to be Superwoman, but I actually need sleep and I actually need to rest and I actually need to just take a break, right? That might be something in your identity where you're living inauthentically or incongruently. But it's more about just the pressure it takes to hold down the truth of who we are and what we are and who we want to be and how we actually feel and what we actually think, and that's the kind of stress that really builds. And it's hard to be something that we're not all the time for everybody else, right? It gives us a headache, it gives us tension in our body, it gives us pain in our back, in our shoulders, in our neck. It gives us chronic fatigue syndrome. It gives us all kinds of things, right? It gives us so many ailments and illnesses, and over time, these illnesses build up because if we don't release, our exhaustion might turn into chronic fatigue syndrome, or our fear might turn into our anxiety might turn into full-on agoraphobia. I mean, you just don't know the extent of it when we're not releasing and we're just building up. It takes so much energy to hold that ball down. And if you just let it go and rise up to the top, it just feels so much better. We can just let all these balls that we are holding under the water go. Just let them rise. Just stop holding them. It takes too much energy to hold them down. It really just takes so much energy to hold them down. And it's full-on exhausting. It's tension producing, it's stress producing, and it keeps us ill. It makes us sick, and it keeps us there. And we really need to start releasing and just living. How do we release everything we're feeling? We're just authentic. First, we're authentic with ourselves. We're brave enough to stop and acknowledge what we're truly feeling, what we're truly thinking, what we truly want. You know, in our job, in this life, in our day. What do we want? What is it that we want? We have to be brave and courageous enough to sit with that first with ourselves and just feel what it is that we feel and acknowledge what it is that we're not acknowledging. And then eventually brave enough to share that with the world. Hey, this is how I truly feel. This is who I truly am. Like me or leave me. This is me. I'm a good person still, but I have weaknesses, right? I have fears. I have griefs. I have sorrows. I have anger. I'm a good person. I'm still me. I'm still everything you think I am, but I'm not perfect, right? I'm flawed, just like all of us are flawed. So I hope this video has been helpful. I hope that you can see that the tension and the stress that you're holding, although you don't even think that it could be causing your illness, is contributing in a major, major, major way, if not completely, to your illness. And it's only when we start to be who we truly are and to feel what we truly feel and to be authentic with ourselves and with others that we start to unravel all that stress and tension in our life that is causing us sickness and illness and keeping us there. So give it a try. Start today. Start small. Start with meditation. Start with expressing yourself. Start with journaling. Start with writing. Start with observing. Right? There's a million different videos I have. Go back and watch some of them and do whatever you think. You know, if you can't trust the people that you're around yet to share who you really are and how you really feel, then just start with yourself, right? Just be you. You don't have to. You can still be a positive person and think negatively. You can still be a kind person, and still be angry. You can still be a great mom and be annoyed at your children. So these incongruencies are okay. So you have to trust that you're still, you know, an amazing friend, a great wife, a great mom, a good worker, a successful human being. And you can still fail and be angry and be mad and be sad and be irritated and have bad days and be flawed. And that's okay. And once we start to realize that and we start to become that and let that expression be okay and be enough, we will be okay and we will be enough. And I promise that as your stress, the stress that you are carrying by living this way every single day starts to lift, your health will get better and better. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.